Hey, everybody. This is Todd from the Guitar Knobs, and I just want to let you know that this is a two-part series, Pedalboards 101. We had so much amazing information from Rob that we needed to split it up into two so you don't get full-blown awesomeness fatigue. So this is part one of Pedalboards 101. Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jared Brandon Wong Pickups.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. We are super happy that you are listening to our little show called the Guitar Knobs Podcast. What do we do here, Antoine?
Well, we like to discuss and talk to boutique builders of guitars and amps and pedals, and occasionally a repair person or pickup builder,
Yes.
or even a pick guard maker.
That's correct.
We have one-on-one classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, classes is just, so nobody...
no, you don't get credit
come
for
to
it. You
signing
don't
up
get-
for it.
you
There's
don't
no
get
credit.
credit.
You just get awesome credit. I don't even know
You
what that
learn
means.
stuff.
And so occasionally we have somebody actually in the studio. Today might be one of those days. Who's in the studio with us right now?
It's Rob Chafe from Mad Cow Amplification.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Rob Chafe is back, and we are excited for this show. You know why? You know why? Jared, what show is this?
This is the Pedalboard 101 show.
Ooh, doggies. We're going to do some learning today. That's for sure.
I could sure use some of that learning, to
Yep.
tell you the truth.
Yep. Rob is going to learn us some things, and we're going to get taught. This is going to be really fun, really exciting. This is something that we've been asked many, many times, and Rob reached out and said, hey, and I remember after you posted something about
what was
pedalboard, and
that?
it blew up.
Yeah, I can't even remember now.
And the funny thing is, I sat there and I thought, man, it'd be great to have him on to do pedal. And he contacted me. He's like, hey, I'd really like to come on and do something about pedalboards because every time I mention this, it just goes crazy.
No, that's, yeah.
I think it was a pedal power.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was powering a wireless and everybody was asking why I did it and yada, yada. And
Yeah.
I was like, God, I'm tired of answering all these emails. So why don't we just do a podcast?
That's right. And I know that you have a lot of experience touring and playing and setting, all kinds of pedals, and you're obviously very adept at electronics because you repair amplifiers for a living, and you do it extremely well.
Thank you.
If anybody is not familiar with Mad Cow Amplification, the Instagram channel is fascinating.
Yes.
I know that I've learned a lot just from watching it, and that's how we actually got you on the show in the beginning. So if you have a moment out there while you're just kind of listening, if you're sitting on the couch or, I don't know, whatever you're doing, maybe whatever.
Toilet.
I was going to say that, but
Go ahead.
Some
you
people
said
in the
it.
shower.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're in the
Just wash
shower,
your hands.
yeah, if you're in the shower, that's great. Yeah, just head on over to Mad Cow Amplification on Instagram, and you'll see exactly the kind of stuff that he's doing, and then we'll say, aha, he does know what he's talking about. Great. So we have an exciting show, Pedalboards 101, and we're going to get to that in just a little bit. But just a preface, a taste, if you will. We're going to cover power supply,
Yep.
signal flow,
Yep.
impedance,
Yes.
grounding,
Almost definitely.
pedalboard styles,
Yeah.
pedal layout,
Mm-hmm.
cabling,
Yep.
and assembly.
Yes.
Yes, get those zip ties
how about
ready, everybody.
Use of.
You said, nope.
That's
we will
up to
not.
the listener. That's up to the listener. So let's start it off with some announcements. I don't have any.
Okay, well, that's good.
Great.
That sounds good.
Great. Yeah. What, Jared?
No, I want to say something
Oh,
to
boy.
all the listeners out there.
Yeah.
This year, I'm going to try to answer more questions that I see on the internet. 'Cause
That are directed to you, just to be specific.
Well,
right?
anything in any group. I'm in several groups.
Oh, gotcha.
And several group Les Paul groups, guitar groups, whatever groups.
Uh-huh.
And it's the younger guys that are just beginning that get on there and they ask all these questions. They're the reasons that we're still doing. They support people like Tony and I and Rob.
Definitely.
And I just wanted to thank everybody for, even the young guys, for taking an interest in what we all do. And keep playing guitar, buy guitars and play them, and you guys keep me interested in doing what I'm doing. And you inspire me to give me a reason to wake up and work. So I want to thank everybody.
Aw.
Did you ever know you'd be my hero?
Is this where we all hold hands?
No, man. So thanks everybody for playing guitar and being asking questions all the time.
Yes, well, that is something we do really love on the show, and I feel like there's been a surge in involvement. I feel a surge.
Don't ever be scared to ask anything.
You know
we
what
will
I've
not
heard?
embarrass you.
You know what I've heard? The only stupid question is the one that doesn't get asked.
Yes.
Right.
I wanted to mention that we should get started on this business.
Olé.
What happened in the music world this week, Tony?
Oh, this is interesting. In one of my temporary moments of insanity, I just decided that I would go on DHgate and order a Dan Armstrong, the Dan Armstrong Plexi guitars.
What's DHgate?
DHgate is like the equivalent of China's.
I feel like we're uncovering something that might make this. You're kind of giving away a secret gold mine almost.
Oh,
Would the term lucite familiarize people with?
Share it?
well, DHgate.
I'm going to pixelate your face while you're saying this.
I'm going to change my voice. So anyhow, DHgate is kind of like this clearinghouse for manufacturers in China.
Oh.
And there's all sorts of crazy things, clothes and...
That is crazy.
Yeah, I love it. And they have some crazy clothes there, too.
Okay.
You can buy panda bears and different things like that,
I
too.
probably wouldn't
Live
fit into
panda
those
bears?
clothes.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
give
probably-
me my phone.
Smaller clothes.
But anyways, you
But anyhow,
bought...
so I ordered a lucite Dan Armstrong guitar. I wanted the guitar. I'm not a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a couple of weeks went by, and I think it was like a couple of days before Christmas. I get a package at the post office, and in typical fashion, it's this styrofoam coffin and holding a guitar. So I open it up, and it is one of the Ampeg Dan Armstrong bass models.
They're replicas.
Oh,
just so
Oh,
we're
yeah,
clear.
these are replicas, yes.
You got the bass.
It's so cool.
So I got the bass, and I said, well, and the build quality for the money, I think
It's pretty good, man.
it was under $250 shipped from China.
It was really good.
But you ordered a guitar.
But I ordered a guitar. Thank you. Thanks
There's
for
a little
keeping us on
discrepancy
track.
there.
So I immediately contacted the seller, and surprisingly, pretty quickly, they responded and said, "Oh, we made a mistake. Would you like to keep the bass? It's more expensive than the guitar." And I wrote back, "I'm not a bass player. I want the guitar." So they said, "Well, what can we do?" I said, "Well, you send me a return label, and I will, and I'll send you the bass back, and then you can send me the guitar." And so the next response was, "Please do not send the guitar back," because it's going to be it's got to be $80 to $100. I'm guessing shipping built into the price. So I said, "Okay, so what can we do?" And the person said, "Well, how about just reorder it, and we'll adjust the price down to $180." And I said, "How about if we just adjust that price to $100 and I'll keep the bass?" And they said, "Okay."
You dirty rat. I love it.
Okay. So hopefully in another couple of weeks, I'll have the guitar version of this.
Yeah.
So for, under $350.
That's amazing. You have a matching set of
and they're cool. I mean,
They are.
Are they as good as the originals? Hell no. But they have the look.
It's just cool.
Jared and I are working on a pickup that will go into the there you go. That's what the pickup sounds like.
The pickup parts.
That's closer to the original Dan Armstrong pickup.
Because there was a soap bar, like a music.
No, it was
soap
like
bar.
on the bass.
Yeah.
No, but this is for the guitar and
Super mega.
Yeah, but I'm
butter.
saying for the bass that came with it, it was like a
Music Man pickup.
Yeah.
But with this project is for the guitar, so it's we're gonna rewind a Dan Armstrong pickup that has the big wide blades on it.
I've never seen a larger. This is a very large pickup with very large blades. It's enormous. It's going to sound large.
larger than life.
That's right.
So anyhow, when the guitar comes in, we'll have a full report on that. But in the meantime, it was just kind of a cool thing.
That's awesome. Anyone not familiar with the Dan Armstrong bass and guitar, I definitely encourage you to check them out. You probably have seen them before, but they are the clear lucite instruments.
Yep.
And they also have a
The
movable-
originals have a pickup that you can actually pull out the old ones and plug in new ones.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a plug and play thing.
Plug
And
and play.
you didn't even have to take the strings off. They had the body scooped out.
Yeah.
So you could
It was
just slide them in.
neat. Really, really unique.
Just
Yep.
slide.
And the
them in.
original ones are pretty expensive.
Oh, they're ungodly
Crazy.
expensive.
Yeah. And there's not a ton of them either.
No, I mean, Keith Richards is probably the most famous player that played one in the 70s.
No way.
No?
Black Flag, baby. Well, that's the
Wow.
Who?
Black Flag.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I never heard
Oh,
of it.
all right. I see what you did. Anyways, okay. Rob, what's going on in your music world this week?
I'm on the hunt for a Fender 62 American Vintage reissue, but I want a hot rod Strat, not the regular 62.
What is, to clarify what the difference between a regular and a hot rod is?
Yeah, the regular is it's an alder body rosewood fretboard, 6 1/4 inch radius, normal tiny little frets on it. The hot rod had a beefier, chunky, like a D-shaped neck with a 9.5 inch radius and medium jumbos. So they only made them for a few years. They weren't as popular as the regular 62, so it's a little hard to find. They're out there, but finding one at a reasonable price that is also not beat to death already.
Gotcha. All right. So anybody listening, if you have or know the whereabouts of one, contact Rob at Mad Cow, or I guess you could drop us a line too if you just
Whatever.
can't
Why not?
remember.
Yeah.
And then
We
we'll
can mark it
buy
up
it cheap and
15%.
sell it up. Exactly. Great minds think alike. Jared, what's going on with you?
I have several amplifiers.
Yes.
All the amplifiers I own, I've had to have most of them worked on. The one brand that I've had to have work on the most is Marshall.
Marshall.
I have two Marshalls
Thinking the same thing right there.
that I brought tonight to give to Rob,
Yep.
but that the Ampeg that you fixed sounds phenomenal. That's a really great amp now.
Thank you.
by
Thank
the
you.
way. But other than
so
that,
you're getting your Marshalls worked on.
yeah, getting the Marshalls worked on. Also, I restrung my 1969 Gibson Dove. I couldn't believe how freaking great that thing sounded. Restring your
New
guitars.
strings.
Yeah.
Yeah, they last for about 5 plays, and then they start to get a
5
little
Yeah.
darker.
You're a
Well,
sweater. You sweat.
sessions
Dude.
of playing.
You're a sweater.
I'm
What,
up
really?
and down the fretboard
Well, he's a
anyway.
big
so.
sweater.
Apparently so.
Sweaty hands.
What type of strings are you putting on your acoustics?
Elixir.
You like
on
the elixirs?
On the Dove, the elixirs.
Yeah.
As for me, I got a Telecaster, not for myself, a while ago. I talked about this many moons ago. I had the
white one,
it
right?
was super fun. You know, when somebody goes, "Hey, my son or my friend is looking for a guitar. Can you do that?" It's like, that's my favorite thing to do. You can. I love that. Shopping for myself, kind of, except I don't get the guitar. But anyways, so I got him a really good deal on a really nice Mexican Telecaster, a black one. And he's in a band called Rad Attack. He started playing it, and all of a sudden it just stopped working. So pulled it apart, and his wiring was all kaputting because originally when we got it, they had done the Nashville rewire and flipped it. And they were trying to give it to him for a gift, and I said, "Hey, I can get this fixed up." And they're like, "No, it'll be fine." I'm like, "All right." So, anyways, that finally went south, and I contacted our friends at Gun Street Wiring, and they said, "Hey, let's get on that." So, put that wiring harness in, and it sounds fantastic. They do a really good job of setting those up. And
Do they have one that's designed for that, for flipping the plate?
I don't know if they do, or I didn't. We just went.
Oh, you went back to
yeah, we went back. But I bet if you called them up and say, "Hey, I want like one Nashville style," like they do it. I'm sure because he hand builds everything. So, yeah, really good stuff. Anyways, they're going to be on the show real soon, and it'll be really fun to talk to him. So we'll get all into that business when it comes around. Ooh, doggies! We're going to skip the 4 on the floor because Rob's already done one.
It hasn't changed.
And it hasn't changed.
Sorry,
And
everybody.
We have a ton to talk about, so we're going to get to it. All right, pedalboards 101. Everybody, stand up and stretch, grab a drink, go to the bathroom, not all at the same time, and let's go.
Okay.
Rob, enlighten us, my man.
All right. So we start.
Why are we talking about pedal boards?
Because I get a million questions. And honestly, this is probably the hardest thing that you can, how can I want to put this? That you can plan out accurately, meaning there's too many different combinations. And that's kind of a preface to start this with.
Which also makes it the most fun part of guitar playing.
Exactly. No, and that's the truth. It's because there's, however many hundreds of pedals that are out there. And you're going to pick 6, 7, 8 to put down on a board. Nobody's going to have the exact same combination.
15.
Or 15. Okay, yeah. You have to
One
step
for each
sideways.
song.
Yeah.
One for each song.
But yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to design every pedal to work with every other pedal
Right.
nicely, depending on what order you put them in, all that kind of stuff. So that's first thing, preface here. Everything we talk about here, with the exception of power requirements, like this pedal needs this type of power, everything else is preference. And these are all guidelines. There's no right or wrong here.
Well, and to be specific, they are guidelines to help you choose wisely.
Yes, and be able to plan it out. But
so that you don't spend a whole bunch of money you don't need to, so that you don't have something that's going to be janky sounding when you're like, why doesn't this sound good?
Right, exactly. But if you want to put your fuzz at the end of the chain and start with your phaser pedal, and that's the sound you want,
wait a minute.
Hey, if that's the sound you're going after, more whatever, more power to you.
But we're going to talk about that. That comes down when we're talking about pedal layout and pedal order.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start with power supply.
Let's do it.
All right. So, and I kind of put this in order of, if I'm building a pedal board for somebody, how I have to arrange things. So power supply, first thing you want to look at is how many outlets you need and what kind of power requirements all your pedals have.
When you say outlets that you need, why would you need more than one outlet?
Oh, I'm sorry. Outputs from the supply itself.
Gotcha.
So, let's say a Voodoo Labs Pedal Power 2 has 8 outputs or
gotcha. Okay.
DC outlets.
Yes. So we're talking about the actual connections for your pedals
on the power supply. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously you need to have enough, or
typically come in 6.
That's
so if
just
you're talking about an
different.
actual brick style power supply, they go from 6 to 12.
Yeah, I think the smallest one is the ISO 5.
Yeah.
And I think Strymon makes a small one that's a 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's called a Zuma.
Zuma's the 9. That's the larger
the 9. I was right.
The old.
Not to be confused with Zima.
Yeah, no, completely different. Yeah, so that's just, so all these companies, they make a few different ones, and then Walrus makes a huge one, and you got a Voodoo Labs Mondo that's like, I don't know, 14
that one has
outputs
fans on it, doesn't it?
I have
probably.
I think it does.
The 12 one.
Well, but you have the true spot.
Yeah, and that's 12. So that's what I mean. And then I know they make a couple smaller ones. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's solid, man. Works
the CS7 and the CS6. The CS6 is really low profile, which is another big point. Like, where are you putting this?
Yes. Well, yeah. And
but before we get to
that, yeah. So these are the things to consider. But first of all, if you're going to build a real pedal board, and what I mean by real pedal board, anything more than 2 or 3 pedals. If you're doing something, just a few pedals.
Sure.
You can take like a 1-spot DC adapter, daisy chain those 3 pedals.
Yes.
Call it a day.
The brand is called 1-spot.
Yeah. And it's just a little AC adapter with a cable. So you don't need a whole
cable chain.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're putting anything more than that, and then you've got a digital pedal, like a digital delay or something like that, get yourself a real power supply.
And why is that important?
I'm glad you asked that. Isolated and fused outputs, meaning every single output is fused individually and is isolated from each other, ground and everything else. So if one fails, it doesn't take everything down. Only that one will fail. If your pedal shorting out that output, it won't short the whole thing.
Kind of like a string of Christmas lights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like each one's run separately. Yeah. And then some of these pedals are very, very touchy to sharing grounds, and the power supply and everything. So
when we had True Tone on, that was one of the things that we talked about. And the reason that I actually went to them, because I bought a quote unquote isolated power supply,
and it
was not in air quotes.
Yeah. He's doing the 2-finger thingy.
The power supplies can be costly. They
absolutely
very, very much
$100 to $250. Yeah.
Yes, but it is worth it. What is not worthing it is paying a fraction of that on like Amazon or eBay or something, and getting a brand that you are not familiar with, that is not verified, that is like bestseller or something like that that is like, this one's only $36, because you're going to lose your 36 bucks. It will go out as a bad move. Don't do it.
Get what you pay for.
Yes.
Yep. Most definitely. Yeah. So so that's one of the reasons you want an actual power supply. And like I said, when you're choosing this, your number of outputs, and then what voltages you're going to require.
Is there a particular brand that you kind of like?
I do. I've got a favorite, Strymon, the Zuma.
Okay.
The reason I like that one so much is size, actual form, the height, like you were talking about with the one spot one.
The CS6 is a low profile.
Yeah, and this one's lower profile too, and
so it'll fit under
footprint.
a Metro. The pedal train Metro, the CS6 does.
I don't think the Zuma's that small.
Yeah.
But it's smaller, it's lighter.
Yeah.
The thing I like about the Zuma a lot too is that it's 9 output. 2 of them are switchable. Let me make sure I get this right. Switchable between 9, 12, and 18 volt.
Yep.
And then all of them are the same current output, 500 milliamps. Whereas you get some of the other ones like Voodoo Lab, let's say, that this one's 250 milliamps, this output's 500 milliamps, this one's switchable, this one isn't. So it's much more limiting as to what you can plug into it.
I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain that the True Tones are that way as well.
Yeah. And what it is, the difference here is that the True Tone and the Zuma, it's a digital power supply.
Yeah.
Which is also why you can plug 120 volts into it or 220.
Right.
And it automatically,
both of those are.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Whereas some of the older school ones, like the Voodoo Lab stuff, I believe all the Voodoo Labs ones are analog. They have a transformer in there.
Yep.
Which also makes a difference too. The
It's
newer digital ones, they're going to weigh more. They're going to be bigger. They're going to have a little bit of heat, which isn't a big thing. But that transformer is going to put off noise.
And it's going to take more juice to power it. But
you're talking input juice from the wall.
We're talking about pebbles and little morsels and stones and details today, brother.
The par cans on stage are going to make a way bigger difference than that. That's not really the biggest thing. Is honestly for me, it's the noise.
Okay,
it's that transformer. If you put the transformer too close to a wah pedal, it'll be really noisy on your board.
Right.
So going digital, and when I went digital this past year, it was I was floored. It was actually that big of a difference.
Yeah,
I was really surprised.
Well, and also with your Strymon, if you have Strymon pedals, it's just kind of nice to be like, hey, they are very high quality for a very good reason, and you can do your whole setup like that.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so anyways, some of the things you want to look for there. Let's see here, manufacturer specs. Okay, yeah.
Oh, really quick. Sorry. By the way, if you want to hear that one where True Tone actually talked about power supply, it was actually Power Supply 101.
Yep.
You can go back into our library on our website or on Spotify, which is actually listing them all now too.
That is a great episode.
Yes.
You're talking about these, power supplies.
And I think that's, your question is where I'm going to go next. Go ahead.
What about people who want to use batteries?
If you're going to build a pedal board with 6-8 pedals on it,
Velcro it down,
attach it. Really I mean, that kind of, that goes, it's like, well, then you don't really want to build a pedal board then. I mean, at least to me, you know what I mean?
And then you just throw them in your bag and you have them.
Right. Because I mean, if you're ripping them off of your board all the time, replace battery.
Right.
It's just, it's not even an option.
I would say here's another different reason. If you're like, hey, look, I can't afford to buy an actual power brick of whatever makes that we're talking about, for the price that you're going to pay for batteries for like maybe a 5+ pedal board, you can almost end up getting a 1-spot Pro.
Yeah.
Which is going to...
The batteries only last 1 gig anyway.
Well, yeah, the batteries aren't going to last. And then assuming, again, let's say this is a pedal board of 6 to 8 pedals.
Yeah.
Each pedal is going to be $100 to $200. I'm sorry, but that other $150 to $200, you need to put a power supply on. The whole point of building a pedal board is to secure things, so you're not always unplugging, plugging things back in, running jacks, cables.
Right.
Efficiency,
exactly. So obviously batteries don't make sense. Now, what we might be talking about is some overdrives and fuzzes and stuff, and they respond different.
Yes, but there's that. I just raised the question because I'm sure there are listeners out there.
Well, you know what?
We're not attacking you.
Well, here's an answer. Here's an
attacked.
answer to the battery guys. Get an Alchemy Audio dead bat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what that does,
if you're trying to chase that sound.
Yeah, there's what Jared's talking about is certain fuzz pedals and distortions and things. When the battery starts to degrade, below 9 volts.
It changes the sound.
Well, and that's it. And there are guys out there, they'll tell you it's not even when it drops. It's actually how the battery responds to a load attached.
Oh, really?
Will change. Yeah, there's a company out there now. It might be Vertex. Somebody's making just a power supply that emulates batteries, even at full voltage. So it's not even a sag thing even.
Okay,
interesting.
So
I think that one spot that I have, I think that can do that as well.
yeah,
If
a lot of them do have
one
the
has a
You can turn
trim
down the
pods, so
thing.
you can.
you have the
It's a
12.
sag
You
voltage.
turn
yeah.
the cupcake down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the 12.
Yeah.
Tony has the 6. I have the 7.
But yeah, you're right. It's all, and it's especially if you want to get really hardcore purist with the fuzzes, the old overdrives. Yeah, the type of battery used, the exact voltage set.
Rayovac.
Yes, seriously. Well, it goes back to Eric Johnson. I remember reading something like 30 years ago where he was talking about one of his pedals, Klon or whatever it was. He left the back on, but the back was taped because he said it sounded different with screws in it. Swear to God. And I'm like, okay, dude, well, whatever. you know? But so people can get really out there with the purist. But again, if you're building a pedal board,
Yeah.
you know, probably not realistic.
And more importantly, if you're gigging, the most important thing about a pedal board for gigging is reliability.
Yeah, when you get a 5-minute switch over between bands. Yeah,
If your pedal goes out mid-set because your battery went out, that's not good.
For sure.
Anyways.
So where I thought you were going to go was the next thing is, talking about selecting which one you need. Do you need a Voodoo Labs this or Strymon this or Strymon that? You have to find out all the power requirements of each of your pedals and the current requirements. So you need to know what voltage it needs. Is it 9 volt, 10 volt, 9 volt, 12 volt, 18 volt, center positive, center negative, and how much current. So you have to get all those specs for all your pedals.
For the most part, most pedals.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. You're going to regret saying it. Go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was leaving that open for you to say it.
I'm going to say
Good recovery.
9 volts under 500 MA.
Yes, and center negative.
Yes.
And center negative.
The vast majority are, but every pedal board I do has got a couple of goofy things on it that take stupid amounts of current.
I know the full tone 69 is not, that one's got a screwy
It's
power.
the old type of plugs.
It's got a
positive center.
Yeah,
Positive
I'm
center,
pretty sure it's that.
Yeah, it's inverted.
Yeah.
And try plugging that in.
Yeah, well, I mean, you typically have, if you get your Voodoo Labs, your Strymon, whoever, they give you 1 or 2 inverted polarity, but you got to make sure you match up the right thing. Yeah.
And the other cool thing that you can do with a power piece is if you have a pedal that will take 18 volts.
Mm-hmm. More headroom,
More headroom. Like, we have our the Echoplex, the EP booster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that really sounds much nicer at 18 than it does at 9.
Yeah, give you more headroom. Yeah. And then that's to that point. So when you're, like, for instance, I'm at the end of building a pedal board for a guy. He's got a Strymon Mobius, Strymon Timeline, and an Eventide H9 on the board, which are all digital, multi-effect kind of things. And all of those require, I think the Strymons are 350 or 400 milliamps at 9 volts. The H9 requires 500 milliamps at 9 volts, or it can take 12. But then the Strymon as well, it's got a different size plug. So you need to find out all of this kind of stuff. So that way you buy the right power supply, they'll be able to supply everything.
Right.
So if
most analog pedals though,
most analog pedals are 100 to 150 milliamps.
You can pretty much plug them into just about any power
It's when you
supply.
get into the Strymon digital stuff, the Eventide, the Boss digital stuff,
Or the really
line
old
6.
stuff.
Yeah, most of the really old stuff, it's not going to be a high current draw. It's just going to be maybe the male type of plug,
Right,
or
like
reverse.
old DODs. All right, with the giant,
that's right.
with the
Or
giant
old
plug.
Rosses that have the power cord connected to them.
Yeah,
And of course, you can always take that to your local tech and have them put a 5.5 size
like Mad Cow.
like Mad Cow. Yeah, I do that all the time.
That's a great idea. So you can get that really cool old vintage pedal that you want.
Yes,
but not have to have be bound to having a completely another
do that all
AC.
the time.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's super simple. Any local tech in your area can do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Okay.
So again, that's the biggest thing, and that probably takes the most amount of time is to go through all your pedals and get all your specs. And
This might be a 2-episoder, everybody. I'm just saying. And I'm not going to be pissed
might be
about
able to
that.
cut it down. Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Editing. Go to your manufacturer's website, manual specs, and then there's a website I want to give everybody. It's called The Power List.
The Power List.
The Power List. And the address is www.stinkfoot.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Oh no, it's clean. It's okay. It's not going to come up with an underage warning. Don't worry. stinkfoot.se. What's SE? You know,
Sweden.
Okay. Well, there you go. So it's some guy in Sweden put this together.
Lars.
Oh yeah, probably.
There
You know,
you go.
his downtime from Metallica.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you go on there and they've just compiled almost every pedal in current production,
We're going to say it again.
voltage currents.
It's the
The Power List
The Power List
at stinkfoot.se.
at stinkfoot.se. Okay.
Crazy.
And what's that going to tell people?
That is another source for your voltage and current requirements for your pedals.
Excellent.
Yeah. So if you can't find it, because some manufacturers are just lazy and they literally don't put it on the website, don't put it in the manual.
Yep.
You need to track it down. Make sure you get the right power supply.
Okay. There you go.
So-
Do they cover like athlete's foot and different things
No,
like that
don't-
too?
There
Just
might be
ignore
some
it.
ads
Just
across the
ignore it.
bottom, but you don't want to click on those ads. It's from Sweden,
they're
so
bad.
you know.
I mean, maybe you do. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. So that's all your matching. Blah blah blah. I'm reading my notes here.
He does have a copious amount of notes for good reason,
Copious.
because we're
8
dropping
pages of
knowledge.
notes.
so many
Holy moly.
details.
This might be a 4-parter.
We already talked about this a little bit too. Daisy chain.
Yes.
Well, you don't necessarily want a daisy chain. Yeah, and Jared's making this nice face like you just.
Not really.
Yeah.
I
Now,
think-
why don't you want a daisy chain, Jared?
I don't know. I don't remember. But all I remember about daisy chain is it's okay to use like your tube screamers and
Yeah.
your
Analog
overdrives.
pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, because again, analog pedals usually aren't as sensitive to tying grounds together.
That's
For
it.
power supplies. Also, the analog pedals usually draw much less current. So
Right.
you could put 2 or 3 of them on a single 150 or 250 milliamp output. And it'll be fine because most overdrive pedals are like 40, 50 milliamps.
Mhm.
I had a daisy chain unit,
Mhm.
and then we had
And you start having some problems with it.
well that, and then Todd came over and he was like, "Wow, this sounds like crap." And
Yeah,
it was a
I did
daisy
say
chain
that.
and all that. And then we had that other
I
podcast.
said, yeah,
about
you need to get a
Yeah,
power
be
brick. That
educated.
said, if you end up getting like the True Tone
Mhm.
into the CS 6, 7, or 12, you can use one of those jacks with a One Spot
Mhm.
Pro linkage.
Absolutely.
And power. So you essentially, like on my board, I've got the CS7 plus the One Spot daisy chain, which is not compensated
Yeah.
power supply. So I have 12
Yeah.
possibilities now, which is cool because if anything's going wrong or whatever, I actually have 2 extra and I just go, replug.
Right. Yeah, and I do that a lot too. Is that somebody will bring me something, let's say with 10 or 11 pedals, just enough
Yeah.
that no one single power supply can do it all.
Yeah.
So you get the one with 8 outlets, but then you put the compressor, the TS9, and whatever else, the full
Yeah.
drive. Daisy chain
the
those
low-powered
3
ones. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and you're not going to have any problem with it.
Yeah. And there's actually a great video on their website where I think he's powering like he's got 15, at least 15 pedals, and they're all powered by a daisy chained One Spot.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Mhm.
But anyways, all that is to say, the daisy chains that we're talking about are a single 9-volt running all of your pedals on that isn't one of the companies that we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, and that's just it. And again, this is where there's just so many combinations you can do. Doing that, running all your pedals off of a daisy chain off one wall wart, basically, not
Right,
an actual brick
right,
power
right.
supply. You can do it, but you're going to start to run into problems, especially as you go to higher current source items or digital items, or obviously if you have anything that's reverse polarity.
Right.
That's
That's
gonna
none of it's
yeah.
isolated.
Right, exactly. They're all tied together, hardwired. So if you're running 9 TS9s, you don't need a brick.
You might need a psychiatrist.
Right. Yeah, you won't need a brick. Yeah.
I'm going to leave that in. All right.
So, okay, if that wasn't confusing enough, that's probably the toughest thing in this whole thing is making sure you get the right power supply or the best power supply.
It's important.
Yes. Okay.
All right. We're
Next
past
thing,
number 1.
that's number 1. Next thing I always tell people, don't just put the pedal board together. Plug everything in together on the floor in your living room
Yes.
and figure out if you're going to have any interaction problems. Like if I put this pedal in front of this pedal, turn them both on, oh wow, my volume just got cut in half. Or this one with this one, now I've got a ground hum or whatever. So don't just put them down on the pedal, wire it all up nice and neat, turn it on, and then find out you have problems.
Yeah.
So, and you'd be amazed. I would say half the people that bring me pedals to wire on a pedal board for them, I ask them, so you've tested this layout before? And they're like, no. Or what order do you want in? I don't know. It's like, oh, hold on, back up. We got to decide that first.
Yeah.
So talking about order, this is all suggestion. Nothing is.
Are you jumping? You're jumping ahead, aren't you?
Nope.
You're not?
Nope. We're on signal flow.
Okay. Signal flow. Is that order?
Signal flow.
All right.
Signal flow.
Yeah, that is signal flow. I thought I guess I thought that was something else. Good. Well, I like this part.
Okay. And again, so like I was saying, all suggestions. There's no right or wrong. Like you made that face when I said start the chain with a phase, put your fuzz at the end.
Yeah.
If that's the sound you want, then that's what it is.
Right.
But these are some general.
Right. Now, and just to clarify, why would I have made that face?
Because typically fuzz only interacts correctly if it's first in the chain and actually interacts with the load of your guitar.
Right.
So putting it at the end would do all kinds of weird stuff to that fuzz pedal.
Right.
And you don't generally want to put your reverb pedal
You
in
did
the
the high
front.
voice thing.
I did.
Yeah.
Because if you do that and then you have some overdrives,
You're overdriving your
you're going to
reverb.
overdrive the reverb and it's going to,
That sounds like a perfect
triple
topic for signal flow.
Yeah. No.
I love it.
You're absolutely right.
Well, of course.
So here you go. So first of all, as we go through this, you're going to hear me refer to 2-cable versus 4-cable method. 2-cable is very simple. There's 2 cables, guitar into your pedal board, out of your pedal board, into your amp. So that means all your effects are in front of the amp.
Right.
Okay.
And to further clarify,
Go ahead.
you may have a pedal board that actually has those outputs built into the pedal board.
Right.
If you are using a pedal train or something like that, in all likelihood, you don't. And you're going directly into the first pedal and directly out of the last pedal.
Yep. There you go. Cool. Now, the other method is 4-cable method. And most of the people listening will probably already be familiar with this, but just in case, 4 cables where there's 4 cables involved. Guitar into the first pedal. Then you come out of a pedal on your pedal board into the input of your amp. Then you come out of your effects loop into another chain of pedals, out of that last pedal back into the effects return. So there's 4 cables. So you're splitting some pedals in front of the amp.
My eyes just crossed.
Hold with me here. And then some of your pedals are in the effects loop.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to talk about, which ones are generally put in places. You know, which ones are usually in front of your amp, which ones are usually in your effects loop, and in what order usually.
Okay.
Okay. Questions yet?
This is probably the biggest pedal question on the internet, period.
Really? You think so?
Which order do I put my pedals in?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, here's some suggestions. Again, nobody crucify me. If you put your pedals in a different order, great. Wah and fuzz first. Those are the 2 that are most sensitive, responding directly with the guitar. And it's the reactance of the guitar, it's the pickups, all of that mating directly to that input stage on each one of those.
May I interject with a question already?
Yep.
Now, most of us are going to have a tuner first.
No. If you insert a tuner between your guitar and a wah, your guitar to fuzz, that wah and fuzz will not sound. All of a sudden, you'll be like, what the hell just happened? Did my pedal break? And it's just that you've inserted, well, assuming this, it's not a true bypass tuner.
If it is a true bypass tuner.
You can put that anywhere you want.
Okay. So that would be like a polytune.
That is actually buffered or true bypass.
Yes.
You can have it in either mode.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason being is that when basically polytune or something that's true bypass, when it's turned off, it's hardwired past no part of that circuitry.
There's nothing
exactly.
working.
So literally it's like pulling it out of the chain.
Right.
Right. But I'm talking like anything buffered. You don't want anything that has a buffered output in between your guitar to the wah or to a fuzz.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's going to change the impedance match between there.
Volume pedal.
Yeah. Volume pedal will change in between there. If you put a volume pedal between those 2, it'll change the impedance and load it down too. It can, depending on which volume pedal you have.
Okay.
What the resistance is.
Yes.
Yeah. All of that stuff.
Okay. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And this is where the possibilities are limitless because every fuzz is designed slightly different. It's going to have a different input impedance that This
and
one
different
might be
components. That's where we're getting in germanium and all that business, which is
all
crazy.
of it. So this fuzz with this volume pedal may work fine, but then you use the same volume pedal with a different fuzz, and all of a sudden it goes all wacky.
So again, play around with your order
Yes.
and see what works the best.
Yep.
Don't take anything on gospel.
Nope.
Take things as suggestions. What we're hearing is like, hey, this is helpful stuff so that you don't make those mistakes. However, rock and roll is an imperfect,
Or probably the way I'd look at this is these are suggestions. So if you're going through this and you can't figure out why your fuzz
Good
all of a
point.
sudden went crazy, here's things to look at.
When you say it goes crazy, what would that sound like? What is crazy? What am I losing or gaining?
Yeah, well, it might sound very thin, very hollow. Like you turn on the fuzz and be like, whoa, it'll sound kind of broken usually.
Okay.
It'll be something like all of a sudden all my low end or my mids are missing.
Okay.
Or it's not breaking up at all. It sounds very clean. Or the volume cuts in half.
Oh.
So when it's hardwired without anything buffered in front of it, it sounds great. You now put a buffered thing in front of it, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I just lost half my volume and half my low end. What happened there? Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be an impedance thing. And that goes back to, and if yours is working fine with your volume pedal and everything in front of it, great, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you had noticed, hey, Rob, whenever I put my volume pedal in, that's when the problem comes in.
Well, I do have one fuzz that was like,
Yep. And that's the difference. Is
Yeah.
that one fuzz may be fine, but then the next one's designed a little different,
Yep.
and all bets are off.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's generally why I tell people not to put a volume or a tuner in front of a wah or a fuzz.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you do, just make sure that it's true bypass and make sure you like the sound, period.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So, and then comes to the next thing. Usually after wah and fuzz, a volume pedal.
Oh,
Because, you've got that direct interaction with the
Right.
guitar. So then you can put a volume after it. And usually because either one of those wah or fuzz, after those, it'll put out somewhat of a low impedance signal that the volume pedal won't mess with the next pedal.
okay.
Next, pitch. Any of you guys have pitch effects?
I do
Whammies?
not. I do
Drops?
No.
I used to years ago.
Yeah.
I don't use them anymore.
It's interesting. So there's kind of two camps there. I'd say 20% of people out there have to have a pitch effect on their board.
If you were in a
I
cover
tried
band
them.
and you did
Guys use those so you don't have
Like
to
subbing ups and stuff like that.
retune. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. You have to have that early in the chain to
Yeah.
have it track and track well or quickly and accurately.
Yeah.
So that has to go right after the volume usually. So you got wah, fuzz to volume to your pitch. Then number 4 are all your gains, EQs. Overdrive, compression, distortion, boost that you want to use to push the front of an amp. That's all your TS9s and full
Right.
drives and OCDs. And can we name any other full tone pedals here?
No. But so next in mine is, mine goes volume, tuner, and currently it goes EP booster into my drives.
Okay. Yeah. So you see, and that's where the personal preference comes in.
Yeah.
Is that some guys use EP boosters as a volume push, like after
Yeah.
drives, where you're using it. So when you turn in drive with your EP, it causes the distortion pedal to then distort more.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just gives it a little tingle.
Yep. And that's where there's no right or wrong. It's
Right. And you can put one at the end too.
Exactly.
You can have 2 of them.
Yeah. You could have them between every pedal if you wanted.
Ooh,
you
my.
could-
But I think the takeaway is what, as you said before, you nail everything down and wire it up, lay it out on the floor, see what works, change things around, experiment.
Try. Yeah. And I've done that for my own stuff where I've had it set up a certain way forever. And then I'll be like, wait a minute. What happens if I reverse these 2 pedals with each other? And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's way better sound. That's a more useful sound for
It
me.
is shocking how many pedals that I've plugged in. I'm like, I don't like this as much as I thought I would. And then I move it and I'm like, oh, I love this now.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play around. And that's the endless thing. Again, and I bring that up because so many people bring me pedal boards and they don't even know the order they want to put in. It's like, whoa, you got some research to do first, to make the most out of this.
Yep.
So anyways, so though that ends what you put in front of your amp.
Would you typically say when we're talking about drives, because this is also this in order of appearance, this is number 2 most frequent question on the internet regarding pedals is how do I stack my drives?
Personal preference.
Personal preference.
They're really it's personal preference. Just like we talked about real quick,
Yep.
that you were putting your EP in front of your which overdrive?
Well, it's technically a preamp. it's the SNK CMO drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's got the load of drive. I mean, it's like
right.
good stuff.
So again, you're using it to boost or to goose the front end of that distortion pedal.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
That's going to have a different sound than if you did the opposite of it.
Yes. It just doesn't have as much presence.
Right. You like doing it that way.
Yeah.
For me, I would probably do it the opposite way. I would probably tailor my sound, my overdrive pedal, then use the EP to maybe boost the low mids a little bit in volume, but not to goose the amount of distortion or how it responds.
I have one after.
Well, there you go then. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, but that's all personal preference. There's no right or wrong there.
Right.
Move
And
them all
actually, one of our former guests, Rhett Schull, he did a great YouTube episode on drive stacking, which, and he goes over, what happens if you put a low, if you put an overdrive that's kind of set low in front of a higher set distortion. What happens if you swap that? What happens if you change the volumes on each of those? It's really fascinating. And you can get so many different sounds. So have fun. Play with it.
Endless. And what you're going to find out is, especially if you have like half a dozen overdrives you're tinkering with.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a buddy going through this right now. He's got one overdrive in particular that anytime he has it turned on with this pedal or this other pedal, it goes to crap. Literally, the volume gets cut in half.
Yeah.
And he's having impedance issues. But it's the order that he's got things in.
Interesting.
So you don't know until you lay it out on your living room floor and go to town,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but again, so this would be all of the stuff in front of your amp in this order: wah, fuzz, volume pedal, pitch, to your compressor, overdrive, distortion, and boost.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Everybody still there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna mention boosts a couple times though.
I like
Boost all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, that's what they're for, right?
So those are what can go in
so
front
hilarious.
of the
Oh my
amp.
gosh.
And then this is where we go back to the 2 versus 4 cable method. If you're running everything in front of the amp, ignore this whole word. We now talk, okay, now we're going into the amp and from the effects loop.
If you have an effects loop.
If you have and if you want to put them in the effects loop.
If you want to put them in the effects loop that you maybe have.
So I'm sure you're
Exactly.
going to tell us which effects work best in an effects loop of an amplifier.
Before you do
That's
that,
important too.
what is an effects loop?
An effects loop. Oh, that is actually a really good question, Todd, because this is a lot of people don't understand this. The point of an effects loop is it breaks the amplifier, your guitar amplifier, into 2 sections.
Okay.
Your preamp section, where all your tone knobs come in play, your amount of distortion, all of that. It then breaks the signal path before it goes to the power amplifier, where it amplifies it to really high volumes in your amplifier.
Right.
So it can send
So
it
the
out to
preamp
pedals.
is the sound it's actually making, and the power amp is the actual power you're giving that
amplification
sound.
of it. Exactly. The big amplification.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So you're breaking those 2 sections of your amplifier right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So 99% of the world just goes straight in the front and then probably wonders why their
No.
amp doesn't sound awesome.
No.
Well, I want to let me clarify that, because a preamp on your amplifier actually takes the voltage, the little bit of voltage that comes out of the guitar pickup, and makes it louder.
It does.
And then that, in addition to changing impedance and different things like that. But yeah, your power amp section is what actually makes it go.
99%.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming out of just the preamp, like before the phase inverter. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah. It could power a set of headphones,
My experience through just discovery and just testing out is usually your reverbs you want to put through your send and receive, and your fuzzes and your overdrives in the front.
Yes. Yeah. You just skipped 10 minutes
that's-
there, but yes, you're right.
Yeah.
No,
I
no,
mean-
you're absolutely, yeah. No, and that's just it. Yeah, typically stuff you want to put in your effects loop. So after you do the EQing and the distorting and all that kind of stuff, modulation, fancy term for chorus, phaser, flange, and usually that goes at the beginning of your effects loop. And then what comes next? Sometimes guys will put a volume pedal in their effects loop. Yeah, and that's actually where I run mine.
That's interesting.
I have a. Please let me interrupt and ask a question.
Go ahead. No,
That's what I'm doing right now.
What would you do if we just said
He doesn't
no?
want to get chastised.
I would still ask anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
For instance, I have a Mutron biphase, and it's got a left and a right. But the left and the right, it has to be at the end of the chain because it goes right. It goes right through the amplifier.
Doesn't have to be at the end of the chain.
Well, you got a left and right. You got two different amplifiers. It's got to go to.
No, you can get a stereo reverb, stereo delay. H9 runs in stereo.
I don't follow.
So I'm assuming after that, because you want to put a reverb pedal, or you want to put a delay pedal.
Not
ideally.
after that.
Okay, then what are you complaining about?
No, I mean, what you're telling me is that all the modulations should go in the front of the chain, right?
Well, and again, suggestion, yes. So okay, let's say you don't want to do that, but someone else wants to put that early on in the chain. That's why most delays, reverbs, H9, evenside H9, which multi-effects, it does a little bit of everything. They're all stereo in, stereo out. So you can put those after your stereo output from your modulation.
Yeah. That's also a very, very specific circumstance. Most people aren't running those.
Well, you know what? I would say half the pedal boards I wire, they're not running that, but they want stereo output of their modulation and stuff.
I've got several of
Yeah,
those
he's
pedals.
got stereo all over the place.
I know.
But for the general population that's following along, so as not to turn this into the through the looking
stereo
glass
show.
let's stay on. Let's get back on track.
Okay. So again, effects loop, start with modulation, chorus, phaser, flange. Then if you want to put a volume pedal in the effects loop, it would go in next. Difference why we now have two placements of volume in, where I said I put mine in effects loop, you put yours in front of the amp.
I just want to master volume. I'm not trying to do swells and all kinds of that stuff.
What do you mean master volume?
I want it down between songs, up. I just want to control the volume with my foot.
Okay, you may want to move it. And here's why. Putting it in an effects loop, it will actually, when it's off, your amp will be dead quiet because it's muting all your overdrives, all your preamp. Oh, you think what is yours in front of the amp right now, right?
Yeah.
And in front of your overdrives and stuff?
Everything.
Yeah. It'll be so much quieter if you move it to the end.
What if you had a volume at the beginning and a volume at the end?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some guys have that.
I'm not doing that. So
but
I will.
But now if having a volume at the beginning of the chain, it reacts more like your volume on your guitar.
Yep.
Where it's a volume, but it's also a dynamic thing.
Yep.
It'll change the impedance of the overdrives you're feeding, that kind of stuff, and clean up your signal. So it's not just a swell.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put in the effects loop, it is just like a volume control where it's not controlling dynamics nearly at all.
I don't need a dynamic with my foot.
Yeah. Well, then again, you would actually be better off putting in the effects loop if you want just on-off volume.
What if I don't have an effects loop?
Well, then you don't want to do that.
It's on 10.
That's why mine's
Just
in front.
put it in
Well, there we
between
go.
the speaker out and the.
Yeah, it'll be fine right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't have to do that. But
Do not do that.
yeah, I've got mine in the effects loop for that reason, though, is I want just a overall volume, and so I can do sweeps or swells.
Yeah.
And after my volume, I've got my delays and my reverbs, so the trails will still go on when I pull the volume back for the next note, yada yada.
Say that again.
Yep, volume in front of delay and reverb in my effects loop. So I hit a note, I swell the note in, and I pull the volume back. The trail still goes.
Okay, now.
Right, they're
Exactly.
still getting the effect.
That's an important one. We're gonna re-mention this because this is when you do go say, where do I put my volume pedal? Those are the two things. You want to master volume, or do you want to control the volume of the effects, but leave your amp doing what it was just told to do?
I'm going to do both.
Dig? You said it better.
Oh, okay. So again, putting it at the beginning of a chain, it's going to affect dynamics. It's going to be more like your volume control on your guitar.
Right.
Where when you roll it off, it changes how the amp breaks up and your distortion pedals break up and everything. If you put it in the effects loop, it's going to be more of just a straight level control.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put it in your effects loop, you generally want it before your reverbs, delays, so the trails of those reverbs and delays will continue when you pull the pedal back.
Right. So if you go jing and you leave it off, the trails are the
Keep
magic is
going.
going to still keep going
Yeah.
Okay.
without it just cutting it off.
Exactly.
Well, perfect sense.
So
what
that's
you
when
paid
you
the
can get
pedal to
really
do.
fancy with your swells.
Yeah, all your ambient stuff.
Yep.
Right. And then most of the time, and this is something a lot of people, wouldn't say screw up, but they just don't know any better. A lot of times they put reverb into delay. 9 times out of 10, I tell people put delay into reverb, and they actually prefer that. It just works better. The reverb kind of washes out the delay trails rather than delay trailing a washed out signal.
Okay.
Tough, right? So again,
Not
delay
really.
first just gives it that ding, 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 and then you're washing that whole thing out. So it's not
Yeah.
as abrupt like delay. It's delay kind of washed a little more.
That's the way the Keeley Caverns is situated.
An automatic delay into reverb.
Yeah, it's delay into reverb. It's a 2-in-1 box. It's a beautiful pedal.
Robert Keeley's a smart guy.
That's a great pedal.
Yeah. So, and then this is a weird one. Nobody does this, or no, not nobody. A lot of people don't do this. I put trim or vibrato at the very end.
Could you put? Yeah. Well, yeah. That's,
Go ahead, ask.
No, that's where I think I'm.
Why,
mine's at.
Rob?
That's where mine's at.
Yeah. The reason I like it, I didn't run it like this for years. I put it earlier on between like the modulation and the delay, but I just started maybe 2 years ago putting it at the very end of the chain. That's how most of these amps that have the trem and vibrato built in,
Mhm.
that's how they're wired.
Yeah, look, check me out.
Yeah.
Wow. Head of the
big
class.
brain on Brad. Yeah.
Yeah, if you plug into a black face Fender, if you turn up reverb and trem and you hit a note, you'll notice that the reverb actually turns on and off too. It pulsates.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's, yeah.
And the only reason I did that is because I have an actual song that I want a helicopter square wave chop, just chuck,
So you put it at the end. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
The frequency, Kenneth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's, and then at the very end, I'm sorry, that usually isn't the very, very end, boost control. And if you put a boost pedal all the way at the end of everything, it's going to be pure volume. It's not going to, obviously, it won't push any of your pedals into breakup.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that goes back to, do you have your EP booster in front of your amp, in front of a overdrive pedal, then you're goosing your overdrive pedals,
Mm-hmm.
put it all the way at the end of everything in your effects loop. It's just a master boost for solos.
So it's almost like another
Volume control.
volume
I
stage.
can't wait to
Gain
actually
stage.
draw mine out for you after we're
Exactly.
done with the episode.
I'm going to start crying, aren't I?
No, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
When you're done with those 2 Marshall amps, I'll just have you bring them to my house so we can.
And then we
the
can
pedal board.
do all this. Oh no! Oh no!
I'll show you my mood trunk.
Okay, so one quick review, so you can write this down. In front, wah fuzz, into volume, into a pitch, into compression. I can't talk. Overdrive, distortion, boost.
Right.
If you're running 4 cable, that then goes into your amp, effects loop, out into modulation, volume, delay, to reverb, to trem, to a boost, and then back into your amp.
Okay. Now I got a great question for you. Where do preamps fall into place? Now I know most preamps are viewed as boosts. And,
What do you mean preamps?
well,
Because I mean, technically, anything that's an active circuit is a preamp. Literally, an
Okay.
EP booster is a preamp, or a TS9 is a preamp.
there are preamps.
You're talking about something like 3-band EQ. It has okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just
I'll cut you
something,
off.
anything labeled a preamp.
Like, give me a model.
I know Ampeg has a preamp for bass. I know.
Okay.
Like our friend Drew Foppy just made.
So you're talking about a specific
a
preamp.
specific thing that's called preamp. Drew Foppy just made one called the Royal preamp, which is a single knob preamp. I know that. So like 2 of the pedals that I have are modeled after Sun preamps. So anytime the word preamp comes into place, that's one of those ones I'm like, is this a drive? Is it distortion? What is a preamp? Like,
well, yeah, and I guess and that's why I said any circuit that's active is technically a preamp. That's a very kind of generic term. I'm guessing, because I'm not familiar with like the one knob thing that you mentioned. I'm not familiar with that. Yeah. But something like that, they're probably taking a old school recording console preamp design
okay.
and recreating it for a pedal.
Yeah.
And they do that because they used to overdrive that type in a recording
the EP
console.
booster is modeled after the Echoplex preamp.
Correct.
Well, right, but and here's the thing, but the Echoplex never was a preamp. They're taking the preamplifier section,
Right.
That's just it's an active op amp or transistor. Yeah. So again, it's anything that's active.
Okay.
That's really what
Cool.
a preamp is. But
So don't freak out if you're like, but this says preamp. What do I do?
no, but if you have a specialized preamp, kind of like what Tony asked you, with the amp peg thing or whatever, if you're running a Sans amp or an amp peg or an acoustic preamp or anything that's got a full EQ section or full 4-band parametric XLR out, that kind of stuff, those are usually designed to not be used in your pedal board. Those are meant to go as a substitution of an amplifier direct out.
Gotcha. A lot of bass players. That's what.
A lot of bass players, a lot of
players,
acoustic.
acoustics.
Yeah, those are your two
Not
most.
typically guitar players. Not typically.
Yeah, more and more guys are starting. Right? Yeah, Tony's making a face, and he's right.
Not
yeah.
typically. Most people are doing
I know.
direct out on their pedal board for guitars.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
There you go.
it's yeah.
Anyways, next.
Got the cat.
Okay. What else we got? Okay, here's a big one: impedance issues.
Okay. What is impedance?
Impedance. Okay,
It
so
impedes.
every single pedal is designed slightly differently to part for the sound they're trying to go after. And honestly, especially a lot of vintage pedals, there wasn't that much forethought as far as this pedal is going to be used with this pedal, with this pedal. It's more likely they were just using a pedal, right?
Okay.
Now most pedals have a very high input impedance, a very low output impedance. And by being made with these standards, it ensures that all the pedals can play nicely with each other.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you couple two pedals together is that,
You make a baby pedal.
yeah, you do.
A mini. You get a mini pedal.
The two pedals love each other very much.
Well, you hope so.
You
in a
couldn't
way.
help yourself there.
You hope so.
You get an EP booster.
Yeah.
See how long it lasts.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Impedance.
Impedance.
So, yeah. So let's say you got two overdrives. Both of them have an input impedance of 1 meg or higher, output impedance of 10K. So it's like a 1 to 100 ratio there, or 1 to 1,000 ratio, right? And yeah, anyways, the idea there is that when those two are plugged into each other and both turned on, the 10K, the output impedance of 10K will swamp out the 1 meg, meaning that the 1 meg input impedance of the next pedal won't affect the output of the previous pedal.
Uh-huh.
If it is also very small, yeah, it'll bring the volume down. And so if you have two 10K pedals, a 10K output with a 10K input, the overall impedance will be 5K. Where if you have a 10K matched with a 1 meg, it's going to be like 9.999K. That 1 meg has no effect on the previous pedal.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, with some of these pedals that are vintage, they're not made like that.
Mm-hmm.
Fuzz might have an input impedance of 8 or 10K.
Mm-hmm.
So you put any other pedal in front of it, it goes crazy.
Okay. Crazy, usually not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Usually not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where you get impedance issues.
Okay.
And then that's when people start talking about buffers. And sometimes just two even currently made pedals, one of them might not be very high input impedance, very low output impedance. So you put the two of them together and you turn them both on, all of a sudden your volume drops in half. So, and this goes back to, you got everything laid out on the living room floor. You got everything plugged in. Everything sounds great. You turn on this overdrive, sounds great. Turn on this overdrive, sounds great. Turn on this boost. It all goes to crap. But when you flip that boost and one of your overdrives, it's fine again. It's an impedance mismatch between these pedals.
All right.
Those are the cases where a buffer, either a buffered pedal or just a buffer circuit,
Right.
will help.
So a lot of our former guests sell just pure buffers.
Pretty much everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah, to fix these
Rattlesnake
solutions.
Cables has a nice one. I think Old Blood Noise has got a buffer.
Mhm.
I mean,
Everybody.
I'm not trying to single anybody out. I'm just trying to give you guys a couple of examples. But
Yeah, exactly.
they're really easy to find, and that also helps if you have super long cables.
Yes. Yeah.
I know you're saying yes with the asterisks.
It depends on where it's put at.
Okay.
Basically, it'll only help the cable length for everything after the buffer.
Gotcha.
So if you put a buffer at the very end of your chain,
Yeah.
and then you've got 40 feet of cable on your board and another 20-foot cable to your guitar, it won't address any of that.
Okay.
It'll only help everything after that. And that's a thing that impedance, if you take a low output, I'm trying to think of how to describe this simply. The output of a buffer is low impedance. The lower the impedance, the less effect the cable will have. Okay. So if you don't have a buffer in the chain at all, and it's just guitar through 80 feet of cable, then it's at high impedance, and that cable will have a very big effect.
So let's do an example here. If you've got two 20-foot cables, one going from your guitar into your pedal board, and you've got a 20-foot cable going out of your pedal board into your amplifier, where does your buffer go?
It can go anywhere you want. It's going to have different pluses and minuses anywhere.
Okay.
In a perfect world, if you wanted to keep the cable as transparent, has as little impact on your signal as possible, you want the buffer inside your guitar. You want active pickups.
So if you're running really, really long cables, you maybe should go wireless.
Well,
is that what we're saying? That's a different thing altogether.
Save that can of worms.
Well, no, we'll get into that can of worms too. But no, that's part of this too, is that everything's got a plus and minus to it. So when I tell somebody, ideally, if your only worry is having the cabling not make an impact on your tone, put a buffer of some sort in your guitar, and that'll help that. But when you do that, changes.
We're talking about buffer pedals or buffers on your pedal board.
Right. Well, and the reason I'm going this extreme case is that, again, the more in front of every cable you get it, the more it'll help with capacitance in your cabling rolling off high end. But it's not realistic to put it in your guitar, or it's not realistic to put it in front of a fuzz pedal even.
Right.
So you can't even put it at the beginning of your chain. You have to put it somewhere
in the middle. So like after your drives, maybe. Is that
usually before your drives, you're okay.
Yeah, so I got that right too.
Yeah. So usually it pretty much has to go. Good job.
Like you said, Todd.
You get a medal.
It has to go after wah and fuzzes, because those have to be directly linked to the impedance of your guitar.
Okay.
So you really don't want to break anything in there, ideally. If you don't have a fuzz, then
no worries.
Right, exactly. But if even putting it in front of an overdrive pedal, if you have a true bypass wah, true bypass fuzz, then you've got your guitar directly tied to your TS9, right? When you roll off the volume in your guitar, your TS9 sees that change in impedance and resistance, and it responds differently. So if you then insert a buffer in there, that TS9 won't respond to your...
Interesting.
And it may be better. You may go, well, but it solves some of my noise problems, so that's okay. Or I even like how it responds better.
Right. Okay.
But it's going to change it.
But they're okay in front of modulation, though, right? The buffers.
Well, yes, they won't have the same effect. Most of them, unless, well, no, if you're talking to phase 90, phase 100, that's an analog circuit. Yeah. So no, that's got a quote preamp in there. So that will affect it still.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
you're right.
okay.
But that's the thing. It's like we talked about at the very beginning, suggestions.
Right.
It's all about what, and you may be like, okay, well, if I put a buffer before my TS9, it brings back high-end loss I have from all my cabling. Yeah, it affects how my TS9 works a little bit, but I'm not concerned about it. Great. Or you might be a guy that goes, wow, my TS9 doesn't respond the same because I'm used to going on my bridge pickup and rolling off my guitar volume. It doesn't respond the same now with that buffer in. Then it's a deal breaker.
Right.
No right or wrong. You got to plug it all in on your living room
That's
floor.
a great name for a buffer pedal.
That's right.
The deal breaker.
The deal breaker, yeah.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Buffers.
And
Yeah.
especially if you have one of those Fender squiggly cables.
That's lots of capacitance.
That's right.
Lava.
A lot of capacitance. And when I usually tell people if they're having problems with two pedals turned on, plugged into each other, they go crazy, meaning that they don't respond as you would guess.
Yeah.
Or you're having a lot of high-end loss. Grab a cheap Boss pedal, like a EQ pedal or something, or any pedal. Those are buffered bypass. They're not true bypass. And the buffering is okay. So you can just insert that in between pedals. And then if you say, oh, my problem went away,
now.
Go buy a decent
It's
little
like
buffer.
a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah.
The deal breaker marriage counselor.
The buffer.
Terrible.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on buffers we can think of?
No.
What's a buffer?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening to part 1 of Pedalboards 101. Lots of great information and even more to come in Pedalboards 101 part 2. So be on the lookout for that really, really soon.
So he didn't have his cake and he's still hungry.
We got sugar cubes from Mongo.
This is where we all stare at Tony.
Is there a silly story we can put along with this? Ryan
like
May's an
big old business.
astrophysicist.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.